Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a very interesting knife overview to share with you guys. Why am I saying overview and not review? Well, because this is a prototype, and while it really looks and feels completely and totally finished, he's actually going to be making some really interesting changes to it. This is the TW Price Design REYNE prototype. Now, in his note here, it says that he's going to sort of get the ball rolling on this once he's done with the current production version of the Dawn. I'm going to link his website right down below because I think either here recently or soon there was some sort of release. I'll let you guys check it out if you want to, and any information on this guy will be down there as well, unless, of course, there is no information yet. Just depends on when you're watching the video. Thank you so much to TW Price for sending this in and letting me take a look at it. Thanks so much to my patrons for supporting me, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Now, this guy, I'll take a measurement of it here real quick. The overall length of this prototype is coming in at about 7.9 inches with a, not quite 3.5 inch blade, right? But one of the first things that it says right here, I'm just gonna let you guys know, he's going to increase the size from a 3.46 inch blade and 7.9 inches overall to a 3.6 inch blade and 8.25 inches overall. That's not going to be ideal for everybody, but for me, I think that's great because we have, we got a lot of knives that kind of hover around the 7.5 to 8 inch mark. And while this is a good size, I think that extra 1/4 inch is actually going to make quite a bit of a difference, considering especially that his other knife, the Dawn, is very similar in size. I think it's actually a little bit shorter. I'm just glad he's going for a true full-size knife. There's also going to be a change to the inset liner lock. It's going to go from a steel inset liner lock to a titanium inset lock with a steel insert, which is nice, but it will make it more expensive. So let's keep that in mind. Blade stock increased from 118 thousandths to 125 thousandths. So it might not be super noticeable to everybody. Flipper tab is going to get moved back towards the handle. I'll take a look at that here in a second, and then increase the accessible length of the lock insert relief by 0.09. There's one more. Increase the length of the primary finger position to give your first two fingers more room. That's cool. He's ahead of the game here because I don't know that I would have even suggested. I would have just assumed that this is the size he's going to go for, but if he's going to go for a larger size knife, obviously he's looking at areas that he can make more comfortable or more accessible or just sort of more accommodating to people who are looking for that size of knife. This is a gorgeous knife, right? It's not anything that, it's, the overall profile is one that we've seen before. The overall look isn't anything that's completely and totally different, but it's really, really nice looking. And that doesn't surprise me considering the Dawn, if you guys remember that knife, was, also insanely good looking. I'm going to do a couple of size comparisons here. You'll just have to imagine the final version of this knife, which I will review. The final version is going to be bigger. Up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Ontario Rat Model 2. You can see here, the final version will be closer to the size of the Rat 1, not quite. It'll be, just a 1/4 inch shorter. Let's just do a couple more. Up against the AD 20.5, there we go. How about up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue, and finally, the Benchmade Bug Out. How is the action on this knife? These are manufactured in China. The action is very, very good. I don't see any difference in terms of overall quality and execution between this and the Dawn. They are extremely high quality. The machining, everything like that is fantastic. I don't know who he's going to have be the OEM of the final one. It doesn't say in the notes, so I'm hesitant to say. If he wants to chime in down in the comment section, then take a look down there. He might be able to clarify that, but I figured I might want to give him room to do that instead of saying something and then it being confusing. So if you're looking for the right answer, take a look down in the comments. He might be down there. The action on this is very, very good. There is no double clutch. It's almost completely and totally falls shut. And the flipper tab, while being on the smaller side, is also not what I'd call a pointy flipper tab, at least where you put your finger to engage it. And the detent is also really nice. I think the detent could be tuned just a hair heavier. It's still plenty satisfying to flip it, and it obviously will deploy, no problem, whether you want to light switch it or you want to push button it. It could be just a hair I mean 10%, right? I'm getting real nitpicky here. Metal Complex is getting old and nitpicky. He probably wouldn't have complained about that a few years ago. It probably could be 10%, right? You can also get in here and do the reverse flick. The fuller is one that you have to dig at a little bit. If you find enormous satisfaction in reverse flicking your knives, this is not one where it's just a perfectly sort of, you get your finger in there and you flick it and you don't have to dig at it or anything like that. No, you're going to have to dig at it a little bit, but once you find it, yeah, you can get it, right? It's just the ideal way to deploy it is with the flipper tab. All right, let's go ahead and do carry profile. As far as I know, the only thing that's changing is the blade stock. So it might be slightly thicker, which would put it pretty much exactly, I guess. The Para 3 seems to be maybe a hair thicker, so maybe this would be like exactly the same length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. It's kind of silly, I know, to do like size comparisons when we're looking at a prototype of a knife that's going to change in size, but all you can do at the moment is imagine it. So I figured for the people that that's beneficial for, which is probably very few, they might appreciate this information, but here you go. If you imagine a little bit longer of a knife closer to the size of the Spyderco PM2, probably not quite as long, and honestly, it would only increase just a little bit, right? Because the blade to handle ratio is really, really good on this. So still though, you're gonna have a pretty awesome carry experience, a little larger, a little longer than the Para 3, a little shorter than the PM2, nowhere near as tall. It shouldn't change in height. So there you go. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. It doesn't sound like the hardware's gonna change. I'll get out my tools. This is useless. These are the tools that are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel, or the pinned comment under every video. We have T8, and we also have another T8 over here. It's just one screw on either side because I think, yeah, there's like a floating pin in the backspacer there. And then there's a hidden screw for the pocket clip, which is really nice. There is no mounting position for left-handed carry, which is something that you should very much consider doing or figuring out, right? Because lefties, I am certain, would very much like to enjoy this. And as a right-handed person, I can confirm this is very easy to manipulate with my left hand. Left-handed people have probably gotten used to that. So, I guess if you have to deal with it being on the right side, you'll still be able to manipulate it with your left hand. Anyways, let's go ahead and measure the blades. Actually, no, we don't need to do that. We already know the blade stock thickness. We'll go ahead and weigh this. And you can imagine that the weight will increase slightly to accommodate for a larger blade and frame. So we're looking at 3.95 ounces. I don't know about you, but that's fine with me. It's not a perfect, ounce and inch ratio. And the balance is slightly back of the pivot, but none of this is problematic for me. The overall profile is nice and lightweight and compact, and I just like it, right? Let's go ahead and move into the meat and potatoes. This is not going to be a long review. I don't want to go into too much detail here because, again, the thing is going to change. What a gorgeous profile. And look at this texturing. I'm so thankful for this because this is the area that a lot of designers and manufacturers and whoever, they just kind of leave it blank. They're like, yeah, it's good. We got it. We made a knife shape. That's good enough. Send it through, right? No, we got some texturing here. It's kind of neat. We got little rectangles and big rectangles, which actually looks really nice. There's a little bit of curvature there to the milling lines. I like that. It provides a little bit of traction. Actually, yeah, it's pretty good traction, honestly. It feels good, looks good, and we have these chamfered areas sort of giving it a little zazz, a little sauce, right? A little bit of something extra to look at than just flatness, right? These are not contoured, they're just flat, which is fine, but I like that everything's dressed up a little bit. Now, it probably goes without saying, but if you don't know, it's very likely, or if you couldn't guess on your own, it's very likely that brown and black will not be the only color choice. You will probably have different ano options and a coated or non-coated blade, right? He might actually do something fancy with the pivot collar. If you want examples, go to the website and look what he did with the Dawn. He had a bunch of different options, right? I can only imagine it's going to be the same thing here. But the bronze looks good and the black wash looks good. I would probably prefer like an all stonewashed, or maybe all stonewashed with a couple of color accents here or there. That would be nice, but that's fine. It looks good. Ergonomically, also extremely comfortable. Really, the edges are nicely knocked down. This is a handle profile that is really easy on the hand, and I can imagine if he extends the handle length and the blade length, which is going to, he's not going to just expand the blade length. He's going to have to expand the handle length in order to accommodate for a larger blade. It's just going to make it more roomy. It's just going to make it more comfortable. I can't imagine somebody who this creates an additional problem for, right? Unless I suppose if it's like on a legal limit for someone somewhere, or if you just have really, really small hands, which is fine. I mean, that's definitely the case with some people. Then maybe a larger handle, a larger blade wouldn't work, right? But for most people, it's just going to make it more comfortable. You're just going to be carrying around slightly more blade. But as it sits, it's very nice. The pocket clip is milled. I love how he does this. I love how we have this sort of valley or fjord. I don't know what we call it, but it's just like a pool. He's milled a little, like a pool in here, and it looks good. The edges of the pocket clip are nice. This is a full milled clip, right? Didn't cheap out there. Really good, really comfortable. The blade, we've seen the profile before, but it's really nice here. We have a short little, again, sort of pool fuller thing. We've got a little bit of I guess you could call this a harpoon notch. I don't know. Usually the harpoon notch is going to be down here. It's just a really long snouted harpoon, right? Or modified clip poon tanto sheep's cliff roundhouse freaking birthday party Chuck E. Cheese grapevine ding dong, whatever you want to call this, right? Blade shaped police are just really confused right now. I'm sure you had the correct classification in your head, and then I ruined it with all that nonsense, right? Basically, you can throw as many nouns as you want at a blade shape, and at the end of the day, the blade shape will be the same thing visually that it was before you threw all the nonsense at it. So whatever you want to call this, here's what it looks like. We have a nice large swedge up here, which looks really good in combination with the flat, which carries out 70% the length of the blade, something like that. The edge drops down to a reasonably, I'd call it medium, right? The blade stock is going to get a little bit thicker, so it's safe to assume that if everything remains the same outside of the blade stock thickness, then the final cutting edge will be slightly thicker on the newer version, which I think is fine. I mean, it's only the professional grape shavers that are going to be bothered by that. This blade is still thin enough, and even at 125 thousandths with this geometry, the behind the edge thickness will still be just fine for the vast majority of people, so I wouldn't be super concerned with that. Nice tip, just a good all-around EDC profile blade. Honestly, I really think that increasing the size of the blade and handle is really just going to improve this. I like a knife that's in that size range. I think a lot of people are going to. I think that a lot of people who might not have looked at this for a sub 8-inch knife, right, might actually be intrigued at 8 1/4. That's one of those lines that makes a big difference for a lot of people. I don't know why it is, but when you go from the high 7 inches to the low 8 inches, there are more people that go from, I'm not really interested to, oh, now I'm interested. I don't know what it is about that 1/4 inch, but I'm telling you, there's a really definitive zone there for a lot of people. So at least that's the way that it is for me and a lot of people that I've seen in my own comments. We have a backspacer here. It's kind of floating. You can see there that we have that pin sort of holding it in place in combination with the screws back here. Oh no lanyard thing. Who cares, right? We care. The 7 people of the Lanyard Guild. We care. There's like a tiny gavel that squeaks. Okay, sorry. Pocket clip, we already talked about that. Looks good. I like that they didn't slap something on there, but at the same time, I kind of wish that we had something symmetrical that could be flipped over for left-handed carry. Something to think about. Obviously, what he's going to have to work around is if he wants it mounted like this, he's going to have to mill a pocket over here, which is, unsightly, especially when that area has texturing on it. So initially, I would always make fun of people and be like, I don't care. I don't want to just put a pocket in there. But in some cases, when you have really nice texturing, you might not want to do that, right? So basically, I'm just saying fix it and, work your magic and accommodate for lefties, but I don't know how you're going to do it. I think this is always, it's some of the best clips that I've seen actually wrap around and connect inside of the titanium on the butt end. I've seen companies do this where the clip is stamped, and I've also seen them do it where it is milled, right? It's just a thinner area that curls around here and attaches to the titanium on the underside, where the screws go in on the underside, and that way you can have this side be a screwless milled titanium clip. That's obviously expensive to do, right? I realize I'm asking a lot, but then again, lefties can enjoy it, right? So, that's just my take there. I'm just like, yeah, it's easy. Just like, just make a wraparound milled clip, right? Bada bing, bada boom. Just poof, you're a goon. Make it happen, right? Sorry. GW Price is like, why are you putting this on me, man? I ain't even, all I've got is just what I want to do on paper. All right. We've got, this obviously runs on bearings, and we have a stop pin that is actually attached to the blade. It runs on channels on the inside of the frame, which I love. I think that's great because then you get an additional point of contact over a traditional stop pin, right? So instead of the tang of the blade touching the stop pin and the lock bar touching the lock face of the blade, which is only 2 points of contact, we have stop pin touching titanium here, stop pin touching titanium here, and the lock face, which should increase stability a little bit while maintaining smoothness. And in a weird cut or a sort of, kind of a twisty cut or a pry cut, something like that, don't pry with your knives, it does mitigate pressure a little bit more away from the pivot. At least it should, theoretically. So in my mind, it's a better setup. And you don't have to see the stop pin, which some people don't care about, but I think it's kind of nice. Overall, this is a really nice looking knife. We still managed to make this a 16-minute video. This is a very nice looking knife, and this, right now, he could release this, and I'm sure that it would do really, really well. But judging by, his work in the past and his notes here on the paperwork he sent with it, he's obviously not going to be happy with something that will just sell, which is good. I wish that there were more designers like Mr. Price. At least I assume that's your last name. I wish there were more people like him, because this would sell. He could easily sell this. He could easily put it up and be like, yeah, it's going to be like $310 and we're going to do it just like this and here you go. And people would buy it. But he's got a design in his head and he wants to do it the way that he wants to do it, which is cool, right? Means it's not necessary. Obviously, it's good to make money after you put your heart and soul into something. But it seems to go beyond money. It seems to go, it's the passion of it, which is cool. He's not going to release the knife until it's exactly what he wants it to be. And while it won't be for everybody, I think that the people that, it's meant for will really, really enjoy it. I have to admit that I'm interested in picking one up for myself. I'm interested in checking out the final product, but I have a feeling that it will be what I want it to be. Now, the paperwork suggests that, this is something that was going to be tackled in late March, early April. I'm recording this in May. You guys are probably watching it in June. So maybe by the time you're watching it, more information has come out, or information came out and I missed it. It's hard to keep track of everything. But either way, I think these are coming down the pipeline. And if the final product is the same quality as this, but just bigger, and with these changes that he's got on the paper here, it sounds like a recipe for a pretty awesome knife. I would expect it to be quite a bit more expensive than the Dawn, than the Dawn V2, right? It wouldn't surprise me if he's coming in at around $325 to even $350, which is a lot of money, right? I would hope that he would keep it as close to $300 as possible. Why? Because that's where the Dawn is, and I think the Dawn is reasonably priced, right? But he's doing a titanium inset liner lock with, a steel lock bar insert, which is definitely going to increase the price. And he's also increasing the size, which means a little bit more material, right? So deductive reasoning is what I'm throwing at this. This is a really, really nice prototype, right? So I'm excited to see what the final version looks like. I will link this and any and all information I can, which will probably just be his website, down in the description. So make sure that you check out the website periodically if there's no info available yet. And make sure you follow him on Instagram for additional updates. That's going to be pretty much it today, guys. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like. So check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.